Well, hello and welcome to episode number 370 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show, some airlines are going on to ban alcohol. Sorry, I must be had too much alcohol myself.
Started early.
HiFly are sharpening up with a 3-blade concept, and United Airlines goes boom, boom, boom. And no, that's nothing to do with the Venga boys. In the military, find out why the US Navy are swapping out FA-18s for US Air Force F-16s and F-35s have a close call with an AW139 helicopter over our local airport of Norwich. We've also got a segment all about hurricane hunting from Armando, and we've even got some airshow news as well this week. So, joining me this week, beside me here in the PTUK Master Suite studios with his marshmallows and his cider, it's Matt Smith.
Yes, I'm being thoroughly spoiled today. I don't know. I don't know whether he received the memo that it's been a difficult week this week. I don't know, but yes, thank you. Very appreciative of my gifts today. You're in a new chair. Which you're quite
I'm in a new
about.
chair.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
lovely and comfortable.
Yeah, indeed.
Has armrests and everything. It's really nice.
Absolutely. There we go.
But yeah, you've had a hectic week. You've been busy. You done Radio Sunday, didn't you? And then. I'll just tell everyone.
I didn't do Radio Sunday. You did.
I done Radio Sunday. I had assistance, though. To be fair, Matt did assist me very kindly. But Matt, can I tell everyone that you're on radio next week again?
No, you can't.
Okay. Yeah. He's not on the morning show next week at all. But no, good to have you in here. Sampling the cider.
I know. The other end. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for joining me in your home. Oh, so joining us as well this week across the fields and the lands. In the stately and the motorways, about 4 hours drive away. Yes. It is, of course, the awesome Neville Bounds.
Yes, hello, gents. A mixed week for me too. It was Bank Holiday Monday this week, and so that's when I had my second jab, which was great. Went to a funeral yesterday, and then did some hasty replanning of the holiday today due to, again, operational difficulty, which no doubt we'll talk about.
Yes, I suspect it will be a topic of conversation. Yeah.
But obviously we are missing a member of the team this week, and as always, I mean, when has Armando ever not got a very good reason to not be on the show? Because he's always flying some other amazing jet somewhere. We are literally all waiting as a team for the call one day when Armando says, "Oh guys, I'm flying Concorde today," because it will come, no doubt. You know.
Right. I mean, you're aware that it
well, I mean, look at Armando. He could just do anything, so he'll probably end up.
I meant more that Concorde. It was retired. How long ago? 2005.
He doesn't care about things like that.
Oh, okay.
But
2003. Sorry, I've been corrected in my ear.
But we have still got some live or some video segments, I should say, to play it from Armando, and we have one actually to play off at the start of the show.
I think he's offering his excuses, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yeah. So hit the button.
All right, guys. Apologies that I can't be on the show this week. As you can see, I am out here at the Reno Stead Airport for the Pylon Racing Seminar, which is the precursor to the Reno Air Races in September. This week, this is where all of the currently certified pilots come out for proficiency, come out and do their training, maybe test some new modifications, some new technology on their aircraft. In addition to that, anybody looking to get into the sport class air racing, in addition to there's jets parked up there, and there's going to have biplanes, Formula Ones. Anybody looking to get into racing has to come to the Pylon Racing School in June and get certified before they can race in September. So again, I'll be sending in some crew logs, whatever we want to call them, some captain's logs. We still have something, to come up with a name for them, but we'll be sending those in for our Patreon supporters. And in addition to that, we'll be doing hopefully some interviews and some clips here for the next couple shows. So I'll miss you guys. Take care, and we'll see you next week.
There you go. Wow.
It's worth noting that I think the first of Armando's special pieces is currently available for our patrons.
It is, yes. It was released on Patreon. Was it yesterday? I think.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and it's well worth the watch if you are a Patreon subscriber.
Not now.
It is well worth a watch. Just not now.
Don't go and watch it right now.
Not now. But as Armando said, he's got some bits and pieces coming up later on the show, so we're looking forward to those. So we're going to acknowledge, as we all do each week, our awesome YouTube viewers who are in the chat room this evening. Quick run through. Lee Davies, hello to you. We've got Captain Cruz. We've got Alan White. Hello to you, Alan. Hope you're well. David Corsten's joined us from Spain. Hope things are good over there, buddy. And I hope you're doing some flying as well. Mazus. Hello to Mazus Karim. Hope you are well. And we've also got, scrolling down, John Jester. Hello to you, John. To Richard Adams, just make sure I don't miss anyone else out who is joining us this evening, and Neville Bounds is obviously keeping an eye on
I've heard of him
with the blue spanner of death. So hello to you. So don't forget.
Why are you saying what? You can just say he's right in front of you.
He's right in front of me. I know. So don't forget, if you are listening to the audio version of this show, so if you're listening to us waffle on here as we do each week, but you fancy joining us over on YouTube, don't forget to look for us on YouTube. Plane Talking UK, just search for us on YouTube, and also don't forget to click on that subscribe button as well. And those regularly in the chat room will know we normally have a bit of pre-show and post-show banter, which you can interact directly with us, the hosts, and we do have a great, fantastic community in the chat room as a whole other side of the podcast, which is only available when we are live. So make sure you do join us, as we all are now, in the YouTube chat room, because you guys really do make the show what it is.
Absolutely.
So, Nev, it is that time of the month when we thank a load of people, isn't it, Nev?
We do, and of course we couldn't do the show without you. So the people that have supported us this month, a new supporter actually, Sasha Beer, thank you very much indeed, Sasha, very kind of you. Stephen Ivey, Nicholas Codling, Warren Dixon, Louise Kasharis, Andrew van der Sarg, Alan White, Stephen Howland, Tanya Wyman, Megan Carrion, Jacob Darlington Brown, Nicholas Hewitt, Masha, Owen, Ruben Wells, Neil Lamworn, Graham Haley, Jonathan Warner, Eric Graves, Matt Caton, Jordan Rose, Andrew Wilson, Captain Jeff, Adam Spink, Liz Piper, Jeff Ward, Myler, Evan Shue, Philip Labe, Stuart Backer, Ray Williams and Stephanie Plummer. Those are the people who've donated by Patreon, and the PayPal donators are Jenny Parkinson, Tony Stubbings and Mazuz Kareem. Many thanks to you one and all. As I said before, we couldn't do the show without you. Thanks ever so much.
Indeed, actually, and what I just mentioned very quickly also is that those of you who are Patreon, who are PayPal donators, sorry, we will send you the link for Armando's. What did we
need to come up with a name for these videos.
I think we called it. I think we sort of got close to calling it. Yeah, crew check-in is the nearest we got to it. But anyway, whatever it is it's called, we'll make sure that those are passed on to our PayPal donators as well, because it's a really great video, and his life is insane, isn't it?
Or if you listeners can think of a good name for Armando's special bits, then just let us know. Yeah.
Indeed. Right, we better move on. Yeah.
Armando's parts.
Armando's interesting bits.
Again, I think that's terribly inappropriate.
I know.
I think,
Anyway,
yes, the
honestly,
entire crew are involved with this. So have we all got to share our parts? Have we?
If only our podcast listeners could listen to our producer John, what he says in our ear. It's highly entertaining.
Indeed.
Anyway, we are going to start the show then, as we do each week, with our rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So, if everyone is ready. Go on, Nev.
Well, this is on the bbc.co.uk website, and we've dubbed this Nev's government travel announcement rant. Unfortunately, we're not doing a 4-hour show tonight, otherwise I could go for the full whack. But
brace
it does
yourselves,
say that airlines are laying on extra capacity to bring people back to the UK from Portugal before the country is removed from the travel green list on Tuesday. British Airways is increasing its flights. I've even heard that they're laying on some 777s to bring folks back from the Algarve, while TUI and EasyJet are upgrading the size of their planes. The move to the amber list means UK tourists should not visit the country and returnees must isolate for 10 days. But travel firm TUI says 50% of passengers due to travel there in June are still planning to go. Any travellers scrambling for return flights before the new rules come in at 4 o'clock in the morning BST on the 8th of June are facing steep prices for tickets, with a single BA ticket from Faro to London City going for more than £540. Well, they're not going to get a 777 into London City, are they? But I get the point. Health Secretary Matt Hancock said that the decision on Portugal, which includes the islands of Madeira and the Azores, had to be made because of a rise in cases of the Delta variant first detected in India. No new destinations were added to the green list in the latest review, but 7 countries, which include Afghanistan, Bahrain, Costa Rica, Egypt, Sri Lanka, Sudan and Trinidad and Tobago, are being added to the red list. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have also confirmed that they will adopt the same changes, and the green list will be reviewed again on the 28th of June. Ryanair's boss Michael O'Leary said Boris Johnson's government is again mismanaging the COVID recovery. This stop-go-stop approach to short-haul travel in Europe is inexplicable and unjustified when 75% of the UK population has now received a COVID vaccine. There is no medical or public health reason for moving Portugal from the green to the amber list when the COVID vaccine rates are so low. COVID case rates are so low. As the UK at just under 50 per 100,000 population, and Portugal's vaccine rollout programme has exceeded 40% and is rapidly catching up with the UK levels. This is sadly further evidence that the government just makes it up as they go along, and this stop-go-stop approach to international travel is damaging for the UK and for millions of UK families. And for Uncle Nev as well, because I was supposed to be going to Portugal first week of July with Mrs. Nev. And funnily enough, before this announcement was made yesterday, I had a feeling in my water something was going to happen. But actually, even without this, I was going to cancel the trip anyway, because all of this testing that goes on, the 3 tests that you have to go to a green list country, even if you've been vaccinated twice, I think is pretty ridiculous. And I think we've got to the stage now where it is now, I mean, if the travel industry wasn't damaged already, this is going to be it. And we've already heard the difficulty that EasyJet were in last year, and there'd been leaks in the press about various meetings that had been held and how important it was for everyone to have a pretty good summer this year. This sort of stuff is just ridiculous, and I've been looking at some of the more, what I would call moderate commentators, the Simon Calders of this world from The Independent, and Michelle from Turning Left for Less, and Paul Child from the PC Agency Online. So many people have been saying the same thing, and I think it's pretty ridiculous, especially as places like Malta aren't even on the green list yet, and I really don't understand
Don't get me started on that.
the angle on which people are coming from here. And of course, imagine, it's not just the travel industry itself, but all the hospitality, the hotels in Portugal, the restaurants, the bars, are the people that rely heavily on British tourism and Irish tourism as well, and others. So I think that they have given themselves a massive problem now. So Mrs. Nev and I have just canned it completely, and I just got some vouchers, and so we're going to go to Edinburgh for 4 days instead, in the same week that we were going to go. So.
Yeah, Captain Cruz has got a comment in the chat room here. He's saying that ironic, as the cases probably came into Portugal via UK in the first place, which is
and we were quite happy to have the doors open to flights from India for a couple of weeks as well, before they clamped down on that far too late. And of course, the other thing is that there are instances in Portugal, but it actually tends to be in Lisbon. Now, most people that go to Portugal for their holidays will go to the Algarve, and the infection rates there are very low indeed. So I think this is just going to be an ongoing problem, and I think it's pretty reasonable to say, look, if we can't go somewhere, just tell us. I think this red, amber and green business is ridiculous. It either needs to be red or green, nothing in between. And all the commentators that I've seen on it apart from the medical profession, I have to say, have been fully supportive of what I've just been saying. So let's see where we go next. But the damage that it's doing to the airlines and the hospitality industry generally is absolutely enormous.
I mean, my frustrations is the issue. The frustration for me, I suppose, is the fact that like the dangling of the carrot that we can start going on holiday. I mean, obviously the harm to the industry will be evident, as you say. If we've already got stories floating around about possible big players being in trouble, but it's that sort of thinking. Oh right, okay. Everybody's been looking forward to. That's. I'm sort of trying to compare this to sort of like my own experiences, really, where you're sort of thinking that actually, the dangling of the carrot of some opening up, going up from a mental health perspective, that excitement about possibly an element of normality finally returning, when we've all been and we've all been very diligent and we've all been staying in our homes and all that kind of thing. It's just like I almost wish they hadn't said anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, and of course they did say this time around that there wasn't going to be this flip-flopping, that they would give people at least 1 week or maybe 2 weeks notice about any changes, and there was going to be a green watch list. Well, we've had none of that at all, so they've just ridden the coach and horses through that situation. And so people that are already out there, for example, are now got to decide how they're going to get back. And of course, as long as the flights are running and the airlines haven't cancelled the service, they are not entitled to a refund. There's I think in terms of losing goodwill, I think that they've really done it. Frankly, for us, it doesn't really matter, but I can just imagine people where that holiday, that break is really important. They've saved up for months and months to do it. And we were encouraged to go. It was a green zone and therefore perfectly acceptable to go as long as you have all of the tests as well. So a bit of an own goal, I'm afraid.
Indeed.
Anyway, like I was saying, don't get me started on Malta.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it must have. I know we've just been told to move on, but it must be making you nervous about September all of a sudden. I mean, I sat here only last week thinking, I'm sure it'll be fine in September.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But anyway, okay, yes. Next story is
this next story is a really good one for you, Matt, because it means you're on the side.
Because I'm currently enjoying a strawberry and lime cider. Yes, absolutely. The headline is airlines ban alcohol during flights following a spike of unruly passengers. So 3 major airlines, American, Southwest and United, have postponed plans to resume serving alcohol on flights in an effort to stop a surge of unruly and sometimes violent behaviour by passengers. Airlines in general had suspended serving alcohol during the pandemic to limit passenger flight attendant interaction, but most had started or planned to start offering it again until the assault last month of a Southwest Airlines crew member that we covered last week in the show. After Southwest's decision, American Airlines joined it, opting not to begin serving alcohol in economy again until summer's end, though you can still get alcohol in first and business class. United Airlines has also decided to limit its alcohol service. Alcohol will only be available on domestic flights longer than 800 miles or on a hub-to-hub flight. In a memo, American said it recognised that alcohol can contribute to atypical behaviour from customers on board, and we owe it to our crew not to potentially exacerbate what can already be a new and stressful situation for our customers. It's not clear how long Southwest and United plan on keeping their limitations in place, though American says it will resume universal alcohol service on the 13th of September, the day the federal mask mandate for public transport is set to expire. The changes also came after the FAA said on Monday that it had proposed fines of $9,000 for up to $15,000 for 5 passengers. $9,000 to $15,000 passengers for 5 passengers who had exhibited disruptive behaviour on flights.
Well, we have covered quite a few stories, haven't we, the last few weeks? We must have done, 2 or 3 stories we've had in the last few weeks of fights and teeth being broken and stuff like that. So, but the trouble is, where do they start drinking? in the airport before they go anywhere,
Yes.
don't they?
I don't know. I sorry, it's a bit non-committal of me, but I'm just so fed up of it. It's like it's same old story. It's the minority spoiling it for the majority again, isn't it? And that's why I've sort of lost the will to live with it. But the good news is Nev in seat 1A, completely unaffected by the drama, because obviously people in seat 1A in business class wouldn't dream of misbehaving. They paid far too much for the tickets for a start.
They're on the finest champers.
Well, quite
Exactly.
indeed.
So,
Indeed, it is. Or is it? Sorry, John's saying something in my ear. Something about, is it just alcohol or is it just the? Oh, I see. Right. Yeah. Sorry. Is it just conversation or is it because of the pandemic? You know, why people are kicking off. I mean, it's
this is not a new situation, though, is it? I mean, I don't know how many. It would be interesting, wouldn't it, to find out how many incidents per year just from UK departure airports, as an example. I'm sure there's others as well. How many of these incidents there are, and it will be a pretty large number. And whether the cases have increased or not, I don't know, but it's just always seems to have been there over the last 15 to 20 years, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Dirk Guess makes a very good point before we move on. In the chat room says, who can afford seriously drinking in an airport? I do see his point, because it's not the cheapest place to drink. That's for sure.
I mean, Wetherspoons is certainly cheaper than in the air, let's put it that way.
An APG show apparently has given up drinking for the next hour or so.
Well, that'll be a first, won't it?
I could say also we're on air. I mean, I'd highly recommend drinking if you're going to get through this.
So
there we go.
The next story, we're moving to Mexico for this one.
Mexico.
And
I do. Sorry, I just realised. I'm sorry if that's offended anyone.
I don't know if they're on our download list. If they were, they're not anymore.
I'm so sorry.
So the US has downgraded Mexico's air safety rating. The US Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA, has assessed that Mexico's oversight of aviation safety by its Civil Aviation Authority falls short of the top tier of international standards and has downgraded Mexico's safety rating from Category 1 to Category 2. While the new rating allows Mexican air carriers to continue existing service to the United States, it prohibits any new service and routes. US airlines will no longer be able to market and sell tickets with their names and designated codes on Mexican-operated flights. A Category 2 rating means that the country's laws or regulations lack the necessary requirements to oversee the country's air carriers in accordance with the minimum international safety standards, or the Civil Aviation Authority is lacking in such areas as technical expertise, trained personnel, or record keeping and inspection procedures, or resolution of safety concerns. The FAA has previously downgraded Mexico's aviation safety rating in 2010. A few months later, its rating was reinstated after American officials said that corrections had been made. With Volaris, Aeromexico and other Mexican airlines unable to grow services into the US, this gives near-term opportunity for US airlines to add more services to Mexico. This could give the US carriers a stronger position when Mexico returns to Category 1, when Volaris and others can start adding services again. In the meantime, customers should expect some higher fares and fewer flight options, but also some airlines may use this as an opportunity to permanently grow their share in what is currently the world's largest commercial air market between two nations. Oh dear. That all important record keeping. Remember we had Bob, didn't we, a few weeks back from the Air Accident Investigation Branch. He was talking about record keeping and how it's important with safety and stuff. But yes, naughty Air Mexico.
Just pop that comment back up on the screen for me, John, please, because as Alan White saying, "Wow, a country being punished for poor aviation standards and." Okay.
A country being punished for poor aviation standards and not COVID makes a change.
Indeed. Okay. Sorry, I just heard a correction in my ear, John. What was that? Oh, correction for it's air.
Oh, the Civil Aviation Authority in Mexico.
Very important. We must get that correct. Yeah. It's still a company, so yes, we definitely need to get that right before we get told off.
So moving on to the next story, and Armando has very kindly recorded this one specially for us. So this one is all about booms.
From Florida today, Aviation Supersonic, which has touted plans to build a $375 million jet building facility at Orlando's Melbourne Airport, abruptly announced last week that it was shutting down. The AS2 supersonic business jet program meets all the market, technical, regulatory, and sustainability requirements, and the market for a new supersonic segment of general aviation has been validated with an $11.2 billion sales backlog for the AS2, the company released in a statement. They continued on to say, however, in the current financial environment, it has proven hugely challenging to close on the scheduled and necessary large new capital requirements to finalize the transition of the AS2 into production. Given these conditions, the Aviation Corporation is now taking the appropriate steps in consideration of this ongoing financial environment, according to them. Messages seeking comment were left for the CEO and the president of Aviation Supersonic, with officials in the Economic Development Commission of Florida's Space Coast. Airport officials, however, and company officials declined to comment, according to this Florida Online.
Thanks, Armando. Great.
Yes, however, it says here we've got some notes to go with that video as well. Nev, you've got something.
Well, whilst it was bad news for Aviation, Boom has just announced it has won a major contract. United Airlines is jumping into the potential market for supersonic travel with the first firm order for Boom Technology's Overture aircraft, wagering that business flyers will pay top dollar for speedier trips across oceans. The airline will buy 15 of the supersonic jets, which are expected to carry passengers in 2029. The company said in a statement on Thursday, at $200 million a plane, the deal is valued at $3 billion at list prices, and Boom doesn't offer discounts, says Blake Scholl, who's the Boom CEO. United also took purchase options for 35 more aircraft. Development costs to make the Overture's first flight a reality are projected to be as high as $8 billion, he said. Wow. That's some telephone number money there, isn't there?
Yeah, it is. I mean, do you think the Boom thing was actually, weirdly, I actually watched it on BBC Breakfast this morning because they were talking about it, which I was quite shocked about.
I'm just surprised they can put a 2029 date on this for when this is going to
I think that's
happen.
bold,
I think that's
really
bold.
And actually, one of the BBC commentators was saying about the Aviation says, nah, not going to happen, and Boom thinks everything is fine. All that United and Boom,
just,
well, all I would say is, I know that we're in a different era, but if you think about Concorde, I know it was carrying 100 passengers, but that was developed and designed in the late 50s and 1960s, and the first commercial flight was in 1976.
Yes, that's quite a long time
now,
ago.
I know that we've moved on with CAD and design and aero and engines and goodness knows what else, but I think, well, if they do it, then
absolutely,
that's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah.
And also, perhaps I'm speaking a little bit out of turn here. Perhaps I don't know if the elements of safety.
Sorry. I tried to do it quietly.
That clearly failed. I can't remember what I was going to say now. But never mind.
And again, as well, that date of 2029 is all dependent on that one big thing that this all matters is money, cost.
Yes,
money.
Yeah, that is true.
It's all to do with money, isn't it? It's,
indeed. Yeah, it's it's a lovely idea, but I as I say, in this day and age, sorry, that's where I was going with this, is that in this day and age, if you go back to the time that Nev's talking about when Concorde was sort of out there, I would argue perhaps that the safety protocols that are very much in place now perhaps weren't quite as stringent as they are now. I mean, maybe I'm speaking out of turn there, but whoever's developing this is going to be a lot more hoops and to boxes to tick, if you like, to make this happen. I mean, I really hope they do it, because I mean we've said countless times on this show and never really understood why a replacement for Concorde wasn't well in the works before it came to an end, and it's
Well,
still.
remember the US? They had their own supersonic aircraft in not in production, but they'd built a mock-up of it, and it was moving forward, and they stopped the program dead in its tracks due to money.
Yeah. I mean, money talks, doesn't it? I suppose. But then United, as long as United have got the cash to back it up, I mean, I know they're only one player, because it'll be several people who need to invest in this, obviously, to make it work. But I mean, to get the support of a big airline in the States, I mean, that's got to be a positive sign.
I would say, wouldn't you say, Nev, that the people who are going to use this particular aircraft and these routes are going to be people who possibly use the London City to the US?
Yes,
kind of.
But because of this ruddy pandemic, I think that
You've set him off
we've
again
now got to see what the profile's going to look like for people to do that kind of flying. Will the CEOs and bosses of the very large corporations be allowed to do this kind of travel? Now, I'm
Good
sure
point.
there will be some of it, but I think it's open to debate. I obviously want to see it, and I can't wait to see it. But again, is it going to be commercially viable? That's the question.
Let's hope so. That's. I suppose that's all we can say on that. Let's hope so.
So, Nev, moving on, have you locked the doors on your car?
I have actually, yes,
Good.
and the door mirrors come in as well when you do that, which is quite a nice feature on the Focus ST. However, if you're on a 757-200, it's a slightly different story. Story here on the flightglobal.com and AV Herald websites. German investigators are exploring two scenarios after a DHL Boeing 757-200 converted freighter's main cargo door opened in flight, some 3 minutes after takeoff from Leipzig. The three occupants, captain, first officer and a non-company jump seat pilot, were on board the UK-registered aircraft, Golf Delta Hotel Kilo Zulu, which was bound for Frankfurt on the 13th of February this year. After the door opened at about 5,100 feet, the crew stopped the climb and opted to return to the departure runway, but to land in the opposite direction on 08 right. The captain took manual control and the aircraft landed safely 14 minutes after the incident. The German investigation authority BFU says that the cargo door design consists of two primary components: a hydraulic mechanical movement and locking system plus an electrical control circuit. Both are being examined as part of two scenarios under consideration by the inquiry, but the BFU says that the electrical circuit inspection has not revealed any irregularities. Whilst the inquiry has not reached any conclusions about the cause of the event, it has made a number of observations about the door's hydraulic system, including a leak in a hydraulic line and the latching mechanism. Examination of the locking system situated on the lower edge of the door revealed that lock pins did not reach their final position through drill holes in the latches. It has not clarified whether any anomalies found in the door's mechanical systems are the result of damage incurred as the door opened in the slipstream whilst the 757 was travelling at 240 knots. Investigators have been unable to rule out the possible presence of air in the system before the hydraulic leak. Well, cargo doors opening in flight brings back memories of the DC-10 many years ago. I'm sure we can all remember that one, Carlos. And it's doesn't bear thinking about, does it? But let's see what the conclusion is from the investigation.
Indeed, I mean that must have. That must have been quite a concerning incident for the people on that flight, though, because I mean there must be massive, like when it's sort of the
noise.
the noise and the I mean I know cargo is not necessarily fully pressurized, obviously when
it's pressurized. The aircraft itself is pressurized, but there's no door. The flight deck door is not normally closed on the cargo flight, so they would have had I would imagine they'd have had quite a bit of noise.
Yeah, absolutely. They probably knew. Okay. Wow. It's an interesting one, as you say. More details to follow, no doubt. Indeed, Captain Cruz in the chat room is saying DHL's new quick discharge feature for on-time delivery. Thank you, Captain Cruz.
Tony S makes a very valid point, which I think we all said at the time when we all saw this story break, and that they're lucky that the door didn't get ripped off, because it's quite a big door to be sticking up in the air.
Yeah.
on that
Indeed.
aircraft.
I mean,
so.
also, I don't suppose it popped up, to be fair, if at the sort of speed that they were. But I mean, I don't know. Perhaps it would. I mean, if it just had it actually sort of like flipped up, I suppose, because of the wind. I mean, I suppose if the wind had got underneath it. Anyway, it doesn't bear thinking about. Does it?
Captain Cruise, before we move on, says that was an ex-passenger 757 built in 1992 and was converted in 2011.
Gosh, okay.
I think we have to put this into the category of being suboptimal, don't we?
I think so. Yes, absolutely. Not working to within acceptable tolerances.
So Matt, this next story is quite interesting.
Yes, indeed. It's certainly a company that we've come across a few times, and
HiFly.
you guys were very lucky to have a wander around the A380. I have to confess that myself and John didn't get there in time to be able to have a wander around the A380 because I might have overslept. But anyway, we'll cross over that. We'll gloss over that and move on to HiFly A330 to perform flight tests with radical 3-blade wingtip concept. Portuguese wet lease operator HiFly is to use an Airbus A330 with as a test bed for a wingtip modification, which is intended to reduce fuel burn on the type. The radical wingtip design, branded, is it Trinitaire, I think is the way that it's pronounced, features 3 blades set at different angles and has been developed by German-based firm the Aircraft Performance Company. HiFly says one of its A330s will participate in the maiden flight of the technology, which is intended as a plug-and-fly retrofit that can be fitted in less than a day. The Trinitaire wingtip is able to reduce fuel consumption by 1 to 2%, claims the developer, the APC. I mean, it doesn't sound very exciting on paper, but actually, I suppose 1 to 2%, it, mounts up very quickly.
It's a
over
few
time.
quid.
Yeah, absolutely. It says the idea for the design was born from a sketch on a napkin, which is where, let's be honest, most ideas, good ideas, are formed, but addresses an optimal circulation distribution at the outer wing by influencing or expanding the vortex it generates. That made absolutely no sense to me, any of that. Operating a twin jet freighter from Frankfurt to Hong Kong with a payload of 90 tons would save at least 1.2 tons in fuel, says the APG managing director. That's fascinating.
I tell you what, I do find it interesting after all these years of flying, that even today it's still possible to improve aerodynamics and therefore fuel efficiency. You would have thought, wouldn't you? But even with the newest technologies that are available, that we would have got there by now. But there's always trying to push a little bit more. And if you think about 1 to 2% over the life of the aircraft, for example, in fuel burn, that's a big number actually.
Now, for those of us for those of us watching on YouTube here at the moment, the links to this story will be in the show notes. So do please take a look at the pictures.
What's the chat room's thoughts on what does this look like?
It's very bizarre, isn't it? I mean, I wouldn't want to be near it.
You could have somebody's eye out.
I was going to say, it's just sort of slice an arm or two off. It's trying to describe it really. It's basically got sort of like it looks like a sword that's in the middle with 2 prongs on either side. So you've got like the the main part, I suppose, in the
like
middle of the wing.
A sweet corn on the end to put on the barbecue.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
I don't know if I mean, sure.
APG show says it looks like fingers.
Yeah, no, I can give you that. Also, in that picture, it looks like it's been attached with gaffer tape.
There we go. Dirk S looks like the wingtip of a bird.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I could see that actually. But then I suppose that's where we get a lot of the.
Micah says looks like the wingtip of an eagle. So it's.
And Nev, somebody's had your gaffer tape there. Freddy Krueger. John Jester's saying in the chat room, it looks like Freddy Krueger's plane. Honestly, I think there's an element of truth in that.
We had a conversation with Captain Al actually on one of the plane truths which Matt done with Captain Al, and this was number 28, where Matt and Al were discussing winglets and sharklets and fences and stuff.
I have literally no memory of that, so I'll make sure I go and rewatch that. I think. Yeah. Indeed. Okay.
Moving on to the next story, and this one is all about an NTSB probe into a fatal citation accident, and Armando brings us this.
From AIN Online, 2 NTSB investigators are in Smyrna, Tennessee, investigating a fatal crash of a Cessna Citation 1 that killed all 7 individuals on board. The twin jet crashed into the Percy Priest Lake on Saturday morning shortly after takeoff from runway 32 at Smyrna Airport. After taking off at 10:50 a.m. for a planned Part 91 personal flight to Palm Beach, Florida, the aircraft started a right turn and, after reaching 2,900 feet, descended to about 1,800 feet before climbing again to 3,000. Then the aircraft began a rapid descent and crashed into the lake. So the weather at the time of the accident included a 1,300-foot overcast layer of clouds. The remains of the occupants have been retrieved, and both of the jet's engines and a portion of the fuselage have been recovered. Now, according to FAA records, the 1982 model Citation has been registered to JL and GL Productions of Brentwood, Tennessee, since last year. Now, those passengers included William Joseph Lara and his wife Gwen Lara, founder of a fellowship church. An FAA spokesperson confirmed that no one on board was currently qualified to fly that Citation. The agency's airman database shows that Joe Lara, he had a multi-engine commercial pilot certificate, an instrument rating, and a Citation 500 type rating, but no current record of an FAA medical. Another occupant in the airplane held a private pilot certificate with multi-engine and instrument ratings, but also was not qualified in that airplane. So this is the second fatal crash this year of a U.S. registered business jet. The non-U.S. registered business jets have also been involved in 2 fatal accidents this year overseas. And this is just another situation in which the aeronautical decision-making process has failed both the owners and the operators of an aircraft. This unfortunately happens very often, where the FAA comes in and does an investigation and realizes that there was some simple steps that could have been taken to mitigate a mishap. And in this case, just simple legal requirements to fly this airplane weren't adhered to. So I'm sure we'll hear more about this in the business aviation world in the upcoming future.
I mean, that really isn't a great story, is it? I mean, that's...
No, it was... They had there is a video online. You can actually see the track playing out on like a kind of Flight Radar 24 thing. Style thing, and it's something went really not wrong. Very good with this after it took off from the airport. And it hit the water at quite some speed as well.
Oh gosh.
But it's always sad when these things happen. But hopefully the NTSB will be on this and obviously find out and work out what went wrong. But it was
answers forthcoming, I think. Then
1982 though this was built, the aircraft, so it's nearly 40 years old, isn't it? Yeah, nearly 40 years old. But
nothing wrong with that.
Age is never a thing with an aircraft. We all know that. You only got to ask the B-52s that.
What, as in the people who did Love Shack?
No, not Love Shack. No.
No. Okay.
So moving on to the next story, and for all you simmers who love your flight sims, like I do, as you all know, love me XPlane. Laminar Research, who designed and made XPlane 11, which I use, are previewing the next generation of XPlane technology. So this is hopefully something that will be coming out over the next few years, fingers crossed. So whilst there has been lots of focus on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 as of late, the team at Laminar Research has been quietly working away on the future of the XPlane platform. On YouTube, the team shared a short teaser clip of some of the new technology coming to the world of XPlane, dubbed Preview 1. The new preview of the next generation XPlane technology revealed what they have been working on to replace the existing lighting in XPlane 11. This is an entirely new photometric lighting model, which clearly enhances the current lighting engine. Laminar Research has not shared any indication or if this technology will be part of XPlane 11 or will be for an entirely new platform, which presumably would be called XPlane 12. However, Laminar Research did say that more previews and news will be coming soon. Now, I'm a member of the XPlane forum on Facebook, and there's been a lot of discussion on this video this week. One of them has, a lot of the comments have been said, from people who have been moved on to Microsoft is why Lamina Research playing with the shading and the lights. But one of the comments that a lot of people who do play XPlane will say is that on some aspects of the game on XPlane, the lighting and the kind of saturation can sometimes be a bit bland.
Right.
Yeah, a bit wishy-washy, yeah. So they're obviously fixing that particular thing. But also, one of the big things as well, which has been said, is that apparently it's been found out that Lamina Research have been working on a new platform, a new XPlane, for quite some time now. When it's released, they say it's going to be blinking good.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So because you did get the Microsoft one in the end, didn't you? Or are you still on XPlane?
No, I played a demo.
Right.
Yeah, I had the demo and I did try it, and don't get me wrong, Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 is the graphics and the actual the visuals are fantastic. You cannot knock it for that at all. But as a lot of people have said, if you read the reviews, if you join the forum sites, a lot of people say, including pilots, that they prefer XPlane 11 as a more realistic sim to fly. And I totally.
So maybe this upgrade then could perhaps sort of bridge that gap between.
Yeah. I mean, you can buy add-ons for XPlane 11 that improve the scenery and stuff like that, and you can buy shaders which improve the lighting and stuff like that. But it'll be so nice to see if they release a new XPlane. Hopefully, not so long in the future.
Fair enough. So, yes, exciting stuff now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I didn't think we would be saying these words this year, and we may still not after what was announced this week. I don't know.
No. So
we better not set Nev off again.
Exciting part, kind of not a new part of the show, but it's an exciting add-on to the commercial news because it's airshow news, and we do have some airshow news, which is quite exciting. So we're going to kick off with the first bit of airshow news, which is actually not far from where me and Matt are here in East Anglia, and this one is comes to us from the EDP 24, and the roar of the Typhoon to be heard in Norfolk. This is been revealed that the Royal Air Force 29 Squadron Typhoon FGR-4 will be displaying at the Old Buckingham Air Show. It's going to be flown by Flight Lieutenant James Sainty. Besides the Typhoon lineup, includes also the Tiger 9, the Fireflies, the Casa Racer, Spitfire, Sally B Flying Fortress as well will be making a return there this year as well, and Paul Bonhomme with Steve Jones as the Matadors. Old Buckingham Air Show is going to take place from July the 30th to August the 1st. Camping will be on site as well if you need that, and admission tickets are available now for camping and admission to the show, and you can find them over at www.oldbuckinghamairshow.com. We'll put the links to these in the show notes if you want to find out more about that. But yeah, it's the first time I know in my time on the planet Earth that we've had a fast jet at Old Buckingham Air Show.
Indeed, because it's all been sort of like the little
props,
bits and pieces, isn't it?
All stuff. Yeah, it's good news.
Very exciting.
Fingers crossed that'll go ahead. We are definitely keeping our fingers crossed here in the team. So Nev, we're moving on to another awesome display.
Yes, and just to tie in perfectly with the last story, there's a new Union Jack colour scheme for the RAF Typhoon display. 29 Squadron at RAF Coningsby have just unveiled a Typhoon aircraft with a spectacular Union Jack paint scheme. The design covers large areas of the aircraft, fuselage and wings, and will be a highlight at air shows for the next 2 summers. And that comes to us from airshows.org.uk.
Yeah, it's good. Hopefully we'll be able to. The paint display, or the paint job on that is fantastic. It'd be nice to see that. Would be nice to see that up close actually, rather than in the sky as well. But yeah, hopefully that will be good. That'll be at Old Buck. So perhaps we could make a beeline over to Old Buck, possibly on a Sunday.
Yeah, I think so.
What we got next? This one comes to us from flyingmag.com. And for those fans of Oshkosh, the Goodyear blimp is returning to Oshkosh. The Goodyear Tyre and Rubber Company have announced that one of its iconic blimps, the Wingfoot 3, will visit EAA AirVenture 2021 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, to mark the 50th anniversary of the first visit by one of the company's earlier airships. Goodyear Aviation will also exhibit in booth number 489 at the show, which runs from the 26th to August the 1st, so July the 26th to August the 1st. So hopefully some of our listeners might be able to go to Oshkosh. I know, I think Armando's heading over to Oshkosh, I think,
Indeed.
this year, isn't he? So,
well, and also don't forget, obviously, that we had the director, the communications director, didn't we, on chatting to Armando last week and the week before. So it's 368 and 369.
So Nev, what's this next one?
Yes, it says a swan song display for Cranfield's Jetstream 31 flying classroom. It's on the airshows.org.uk website again. It says that Cranfield University's Jetstream 31 aircraft, which is part of the National Flying Burger Centre, will make its final public display at the Shuttleworth Trust Flying Festival of Britain Drive-In Air Show on Sunday the 6th of June. That's this Sunday. The Jetstream will be replaced by a new Saab 340B, which arrives in Cranfield in a few weeks' time. The retirement of the Jetstream will not only in the aircraft's career with Cranfield, but the university's link with the Jetstream family, which goes back to 1969 and 1971, where Cranfield acquired 3 of the prototype aircraft. The 19-seat Jetstream is a flying laboratory used for research, and the new Saab 340B aircraft will not only be able to feed data from the sensors into the cabin, but also beaming down to the ground to provide a global connected classroom that can't be live streamed. So that's pretty good. And of course, we've seen this in various air shows, including at Farnborough as well.
So the next one is from the london.ctvnews.ca, and Snowbirds coming back to London skies for annual airshow. So Airshow London announced Thursday that the famous Canadian Forces Snowbirds will grace the skies during this year's airshow. The show, known as Sky Drive 2021, will follow last year's drive-in format that made it a complete success and unique experience nationwide. The show, which runs August 27th to the 29th, will be headlined by the United States Navy Blue Angels. The new Friday night show will also feature a special flyby by 2 United States Air Force B-1B Lancers as well. And more information can be found over at allthews.airshowlondon.com for info. As always, the bits will be in the show notes.
And also, apparently we have a correction from Micah saying, Carlos, you might as well take that one.
Yeah, Micah in the chat room actually says that interesting that the current Goodyear blimps are actually Zeppelins, dirigibles, not blimps at all.
Okay.
So there we go.
Right, well, we need to be accurate on these things, don't we? And the difference is apparently that one has an internal rigid structure, as where the other one doesn't, so as where a blimp doesn't. So there you go.
So Nev, near miss.
Oh yes, this is a close call, that's for sure. On the bbc.com website and airproxboard.org.uk. It says a pilot who was involved in a near miss at an air show may have been distracted by a passenger trying to take control of the aircraft, an investigation has found. The plane almost hit another at the Shuttleworth drive-in event at Old Warden, Bedfordshire on the 27th of September. The UK Airprox board said the passenger kept resting their hands and feet on the controls. It classed the risk of collision as B, which is the second highest category. According to the report, one of the aircraft, a PA-18, was towing a glider into position for the air display 10 to 20 seconds before the incident. The glider pilot ignited the onboard display smoke system, which is 2 smoke canisters on each wingtip, which produces a thick orange trail. The other plane, which is a PA-46, then came 50 feet below and 200 feet horizontally from the glider and its towing plane. The PA-18 pilot, who had been looking at the glider, said that they saw the other plane fly in front of the front of them and did not have time to carry out any avoiding action. The PA-46 pilot said that they saw the other aircraft pass behind, but no avoiding action was required because they did not consider there was a risk of collision. However, they also reported that they had experienced some difficulty with the passenger in the right-hand seat. They were constantly asking to try to fly the aircraft, despite numerous requests for them not to do so, and they kept resting their hands and feet on the controls, the report said. The report also said that a NOTAM was in place detailing a restricted flying area for the air show, but the PA-46 pilot had infringed this and had not communicated with any suitable air traffic unit. As such, the Flight Information Service officer was not aware the aircraft was there until a warning was issued by a third aircraft. The report also said that the PA-18 had its transponder turned off, which means it could not be identified, and was also less manoeuvrable as it was towing the glider. And there'll be a link to the report in the show notes. That sounds very nasty indeed to me, I've got to say.
We were there, Matt.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know it happened.
No. Was it that one? Was it the one that we...
Yeah, the one
Yes, it was the one you guys went to.
The one we went to, and we had the table.
No.
Yeah, it was that one we were there. Me and you were sitting there watching that actual display.
I had absolutely no idea. Captain Cruiser said, always wonder why it's called a near miss when it's actually a near hit. That's a good point. That's certainly very accurate. Was that seriously the one that we went to?
Do you remember that was later part of the display, and they had that really long wingspan aircraft with no motor, and it was quiet, silent.
Oh, you know,
going round and round like that with the smoke canisters.
Yeah,
each
the one
side.
with the picture. No, I know the aircraft.
Yeah.
I just genuinely didn't realise it.
No,
was,
yeah.
I mean well, they kept that quiet.
I know they done very well
because
we
were
didn't know
sat
a
there
thing.
because
we didn't know a thing.
we were even listening to the.
Yeah, I know.
Well, there you go.
You'd think we'd be first on the case, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, sorry about that. I feel like we've let our audience down now. Never mind.
So the last one is an important one for me and Nev, hopefully this year. So this one is actually the Malta Air Show, which hopefully me and Nev will be attending.
Not that you're
this year.
excited about it and have been banging on about it.
But anyone who's got a few quid and a few days off work to come out to Malta on the 25th and 26th of September, make sure you let us know, because hopefully me and Nev will be jetting out there as well. But there's we're going to go. Me and Nev are going to run through. So the flying displays so far have been announced. So they've got the PC-7 team, the Swiss Air Force, the FA-18C Hornet from the Swiss Air Force as well, the CAP 21DS Silver Chicken. Look it up, it is a very funky aircraft. The F-16 AM Fighting Falcon from the Belgium Air Force as well is going to be flying. So Nev, what's on static display there this year?
Yes, it's the C-130H, which is the Hercules from the Belgian Air Force. The OH-58D Kiowa Warrior from the Tunisian Air Force, the L-59 Albatross also from the Tunisian Air Force, and the CL-601 Challenger from the Royal Danish Air Force. And I've noticed that they've been adding aircraft to the website as the weeks have gone by. Nothing from the RAF yet from the UK. I'm hoping we'll see something there from them, but let's see.
Yeah, nothing. So if anyone from the Royal Air Force is listening to the show, could you please hurry up and submit your applications for taking something to the air show this year? That would be lovely.
I think to be in their defence, if I feel like I don't think the decision is necessarily being made by them. Yeah. If I'm honest,
we'll have to reach out to someone in the know. I'm sure Armando knows.
I mean, I'm sure
someone.
they would love to go,
Yeah.
but they're probably having to wait for, some very probably inaccurate information that will change about 15 seconds before they're due to fly where they were going, and then now they're not
don't
allowed.
say
So, but anyway, there we go. We'll move on. Sorry.
So next up, we've got a special segment for you and pre-recorded segment for you, and so this is all to do with the hurricane season, but obviously with the hurricane season kicking off in the US, we are going to take a look back at an interview that Armando did with the NOAA, or the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. So this first aired back on episode 268, and it's a fantastic bit of video, so watch this.
Nate Kahn, who is a commander in the NOAA Corps, and he is a pilot?
I'm a pilot. I'm the aircraft commander.
Aircraft commander for this beautiful WP3D, which you're going to have to Google. All right, Nate, first of all, thanks for doing this.
Sure.
All right, so tell us a little bit about the NOAA Corps and the airplane and why it is that you guys are on.
So I'm going to let this guy take off real quick.
By the way, we are on the grounds of Charlotte Douglas International Airport. So, there we go.
So the NOAA Corps is one of the 7 uniformed services of the United States. It's the smallest of the uniformed services. So most people tend to think that we are officers that are on loan from the Navy or from other services to come do this mission. That's actually not true. When I left the Navy, I departed the Navy, and I am now active duty with the NOAA Corps. It's about 300 officers, and they operate NOAA's fleet of ships and aircraft.
Okay.
So my story is I started at the Naval Academy, graduated 2003, went to flight school, chose P3s. I flew P3s with the Navy for 12 years, and then this opportunity came up, and I elected to transfer to the NOAA Corps and continue my service career and continue flying P3s, but now people don't shoot at me.
Yeah.
I fly into hurricanes, but nobody shoots at me, so that's good.
So that's very unique, as we're always talking about different flying jobs. I feel like every month we discover a new job in aviation, and this is pretty cool.
So my path is not necessarily unique for us, but there's a different path within the NOAA Corps, and we actually take college graduates as ensigns they commission and come right into the NOAA Corps as the start of their career. So when that happens, if they come to aviation with us, we send them through a flight school via FSI. FSI is our preferred vendor. So we send them to flight safety down in Vero Beach, Florida. They learn their basic commercial license. I think it's a commercial instrument multi-engine is what they come to us with. And then if they have background, great, it's less time. If they don't, they'll go 0 to hero on that syllabus. And then they come fly our aircraft. And naturally, we don't send somebody who has 250 hours total into this airplane into a storm. They start off flying our fleet of Twin Otters. We have 4 Twin Otters that NOAA's other agencies use for similar style of mission. It's an airborne data collection platform. They use them for marine mammal surveys. They use them for some air chemistry missions, coastal mapping, stuff like that, where they fly a little slower and they get to spend a lot of time building multi-engine turbine time, and then they can fleet up into some of our other aircraft. We also fly a King Air. We have a high-altitude jet that does other surveillance work. So it's not something that you have to go be a 15-year veteran to get a job over here. Like, we take guys right out of school, we train them all the way up. So there is an opportunity for folks that are looking for employment with the NOAA Corps to come that route.
That's amazing. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never.
Yeah, we're real small. Like it's easy to miss us if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
But once you see us and know what you're looking at, you'll find as you turn around at every airport, you'll see our colors and go, oh, I thought that King Air was flying for Wheels Up because we're very similar paint schemes. But in truth, it's one of our aircraft that is out doing work.
Well, so you started talking a little bit about the different missions. So specifically about the P3 and its mission. Okay.
So the mission that our P3 is most well known for is hurricane hunting. This aircraft, we take it right into the heart of the storm. When you hear about guys flying into eye walls to get data and do crazy stuff like that, that's what we're doing. Yeah. So we do that. Basically, it's kind of a twofold mission. We fly into hurricanes so that we can gather data on that specific storm to input to the forecasting models for that storm, so that we can make the forecast better and more accurate based on real-time data. Now, we also carry sensors and conduct experiments for the hurricane research. So those experiments are designed to improve the models as a whole. So when we go out, that data is used. For example, if you look at the data for the forecast of tracks over the last 10 years, there's a significant improvement in the 3 to 5 day forecasting windows. It used to be that we were pretty good out to about 3 days, which isn't really enough time to evacuate Miami. 5 days is enough time to evacuate Miami effectively, right? So we're working on getting out to 7 days being a very accurate forecast. So that's that's a long-term goal for the hurricane research guys. But we're not really good at intensity forecasting. We're kind of all over the board as far as that goes as an agency. So we're trying to get better. And we carry a lot of equipment that is designed to help improve that. And we started to see some improvements based on the tail Doppler radar that we carry.
Okay.
So our job is twofold to kind of sum up. One is to improve current forecasts based on the active models, and also to improve those models for future years and storms.
And is that pretty near real-time data? Are you guys beaming data back to a center?
Yeah, so some of the data comes up. We have satellite broadband on the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our data comes off real time to the forecasters. Some of our data is downloaded post-flight and inputted.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission times are based on getting our data into a model run right before it happens. So the models aren't continuously updated.
Okay.
Basically, the guys at the forecast center input data, they look at stuff, and then they push a button. I think it's a button, I'm not real sure. But they say go, and then the model runs and generates a new solution. And what we do is we time our missions so that the data we collect is inputted into the system before that next model run happens. That's the idea.
So
we're not a real-time forecasting platform. That's not what we do.
Okay. And that's a great segue. So your mission, what does your mission planning look like? Is there, so is the aircraft commander sort of in charge? Who do you work with to figure out where you're going to fly?
So typically we get sent, the one I look at is a graphical depiction, and it's usually based on a map. And the Hurricane Research Center, the Research Division or the National Hurricane Center will send that to us ahead of time. And then we'll take that map of basically it's usually a rough picture of where the storm is, what the geography looks like around it, islands and things like that. And they'll say, we want you to fly this pattern in and around the storm, depending on what the mission goals are for the science for that day. And we'll look at it and go, okay, we can do that most of the time, because they know we've been working together for so many years that they know what we can do. Mm-hmm. So they'll send us that, and then we'll sit down in a brief and talk about it, and we'll get an updated center position, because all of our work is based on the actual center of the storm. So we'll get an updated center position from the aircraft that was on station before, or we'll swag it if we're the first ones going in. We'll look at it on the map, on the satellite picture, and say, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And then we pick a track in alignment with what the researchers want for quadrants of the storm, and we'll go inbound on that track. And sometimes we're spot on, and sometimes we're not. But as long as we get into the eye of the storm, then we will find the new center point, which is based on a zero wind component. So when you go into the storm, the eye wall is where the heaviest winds are, but even inside there are still small strength winds swirling around inside. We fly to the exact zero wind point, and it amazes me how the meteorologist can tell me what heading to fly or track to fly to get to a zero wind point, and I'm looking at the wind gauge that we have up in the front, and it hits zero almost every time.
That's amazing.
I mean, I would think that 2-3 knots is pretty impressive as far as that goes. Our guys hit zero almost every pass.
From a piloting standpoint, what is that like flying through the eye of a hurricane or through the wall into the eye?
Flying into the eye walls are bad. Bottom line for aviators, literally everything we do on this mission is completely counter to what every pilot is ever trained to do. Like, we fly away. Like, pilots are supposed to fly away from this mess, and we fly into it.
Yeah.
But what we don't do that arbitrarily or randomly either. So, like, all this mess we've got going on around Charlotte today, I would not want to get up in the air and just fly into storms for grins, right? So we're very deliberate about where we pick to go in, and we do that on purpose, and there's a lot of background we don't have to get into about that. But as far as what it's like to fly, if you think about it, your fundamentals of IFR is you maintain altitude, airspeed, and heading, right? All the time. Well,
how do you do that in a hurricane?
The answer is you don't. Yeah. So there are really two priorities that we do our very best to maintain because they are the ones that are most important to us. And the first is attitude. We keep the wings level or as level as possible, and we limit ourselves to, if we have to turn to change a track or adjust where the aircraft is going, we limit ourselves to 5 degrees angle of bank or less when we're in severe weather. So if you think about it, if you've ever tried to turn for 90 degrees at 5 degrees angle of bank, that's a long time. So it's really important for us to make sure that our track alignment is good when we start.
I can't even imagine that. And on top of that, you're going to have 130, 140 mile per hour winds pushing you one way or another. Right?
So typically, and that's why we fly a track, not a heading.
Yeah.
So we're flying a track, and you're looking at anywhere from a 30 to 45 degree crab angle is pretty common.
That's amazing.
So we maintain track. That's very attitude and track are the two things that we do our very best to stick when we're coming in. But we don't chase altitude. Like we normally do a penetration at 10,000 or 8,000 feet, sometimes 7,000 radar, depending on what we're doing.
So not very high.
Normally it's baro. Like normally we stay with a pressure altitude because we can set it, and the other aircraft that might be in the storm can set that. And regardless of what the storm does, then we know we've still got separation.
Okay.
But sometimes our science requires radar altitudes. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
We still don't stick an altitude. If the storm pushes us down, we let it push us down. If it pushes us up, we let it push us up. And we'll make gradual corrections when we're in control fully of the airplane to make those adjustments. Because seriously, in moments when the storm decides it's going to toss us, I've been in situations where we caught an updraft and I was pushing down because the airplane is getting slow as the wind is shifting. And we've got max power set, we're still getting slow, so I'm pushing the nose down to try to regain airspeed. Airspeed's another one that we try to chase a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to regain airspeed, and I've got the yoke pushed down, and I can feel that the elevator isn't catching. Like there's no air catching in it yet. So the tendency is to want to continue pushing until it catches, and that's a bad place to be. So you kind of set something there, and you let the airplane fight, and eventually it catches and starts to move, and then you've got to recover from that and kind of balance the plane.
Wow.
So we don't chase altitudes. Once we're good and flying on our own again, we'll make a little correction and coordinate the power reduction and all that stuff. But we don't chase altitude. We set 210 knots as our target airspeed for penetrations. That gives us a significant buffer between stall on this aircraft, which in our normal flight configuration is probably down in the 150, 140 ballpark. And then overstress, which is if we get up over 300 knots and then we get a G load, we could really break the plane.
Right.
So 210 is our target. And we start making adjustments in either the power setting or the controls if we exceed 220 or we go below 200. So those are call-outs for the guys in the flight station for how we're flying the plane kind of as a crew. CRM is one of our biggest things for the people actively flying the airplane.
So you guys still have an engineer, and your engineer is controlling power generally.
Yeah,
right?
we hand over power control to the engineer when we're in a storm, because basically the guy in the left seat is wrestling an alligator, like with the airplane. The guy in the right seat is doing all of the talking as far as coordinating that stuff, and he's cross-checking. Effectively, when you're that guy flying, your instrument scan becomes about this big, and it goes between three places, just back and forth, and that's your entire world. It's like when you start flying IFR for the first time, and you're like your scan is so tiny that it's just like boom, 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 and that's it. Well, we go back to that. So the guy flying the plane is two-handed on the yoke, and he's wrestling with that alligator. The guy in the right seat is doing everything else that you have to do in flight. Thankfully, we don't have a lot of radio calls to make while we're in the middle of a hurricane.
Generally, nobody else flying in there.
There ain't a whole lot of folks out there that want to talk to us. And then the engineer is actually watching a speed tape in front of him and looking at trends in the speed based on the airflow.
Yeah.
And what he'll do is, as he sees speed start to taper up, he'll pull the power back and try to keep us there himself. So, as you can imagine, if you're flying an airplane and you're trying to maintain an altitude and an airspeed and an attitude by yourself, and somebody keeps messing with your power levers, it gets kind of weird.
Yeah.
So in our case, we're typically focused on maintaining an attitude, and we let him adjust the power for the speed until he either reaches our max power setting or the flight idle, at which point he'll say that, and we'll adjust the attitude to try to adjust the speed.
So you brought up crew resource management, and as we were walking through, it seemed like a pretty big crew. So or at least a lot of stations back there. So what is the crew complement of this?
So the flight station is 2 pilots and a flight engineer, and when we go out on a mission, we carry 3 pilots and 2 flight engineers, and we do it's up to a 9-hour mission. So we rotate for crew safety and fatigue reasons. Behind them, there's an in-flight meteorologist who is like my right hand. And then there is a navigator who's like my the flight engineer, the flight meteorologist. It's his right hand. So if the flight meteorologist is working only in the weather system, the navigator is keeping an eye on where that weather system is in the real world. because while we would love to be going to Cuba more frequently, they still don't like it if we show up unannounced.
Yeah, absolutely. And a P3.
Yeah, exactly. In a P3 that looks a lot like an EP3.
Right.
So anyway, so behind them, we've got probably 5 or 6 different stations where radar operators or scientific researchers can sit. And the complement of that is anywhere from 3 to 7, depending on what we're doing. Get a little further back, there's our data system operator. He runs basically all the networking. Like this is one giant networked laboratory that flies. So he's got quite a challenging job to manage all of that stuff. And then come a little further back, there are 2 more science stations and then a station for an observer to sit back in the windows. So normally our crew complement is about 13, but we typically carry up to 17 or 20, depending on how many seats we have installed and the interest from like media and congressional reps and folks like that.
You'll take them up in a storm?
We will, yeah.
Oh, wow.
We take media all the time because we're a government agency, we're very small.
Yeah.
Part of what we do is awareness,
Yeah.
So if you want to come see this, if like people can see us talking about this on the airplane, then it gets our message out. It kind of makes people aware of what we're doing. And with the congressional reps, well, they cut our checks.
Their money, right?
So they give us the money to do these things, and if they want to know what that money goes toward, we're more than happy to show them because we need to upkeep the aircraft, we need new replacement aircraft, we need all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and these P3s are probably getting a little long in the tooth now.
This particular girl was born in 75. She's 44.
Pretty young, actually, yeah.
And, for an airplane. Yeah. And we just put new wings on her 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're expecting her to stay in service until, give or take, 2030, 2035, somewhere in that ballpark.
Is there a different maintenance program? I mean, you're putting the aircraft through some pretty stressful situations. Is there sort of an upgraded maintenance or a more
not really. Our maintenance cycles are based on exactly what NavAir put out for the Navy's P3s. We took their pubs and said, okay, this is a good program, we'll use this. Because we got the same stuff from Lockheed when we got these airplanes. We do inspect a little more frequently as far as some parts and components and for robustness, but interestingly enough, our flying is less stressful than the way the Navy normally flies their airplanes.
Really?
Because the stress in a storm is all in flight, and we keep our G loads fairly limited, like over 3.5, and we abort for an inspection. Yeah. So it's not like we're going out pulling 5 or 6 G on the airplane and pushing a lot of negative and torquing it around very much. But the counter to that is that we don't do a lot of cycles. Like this plane doesn't do 200 touch and goes a year. Right. It maybe does 75 or 80. Yeah. And what's really stressful on airplanes actually is the transition from ground to air and vice versa, the cycles. So this airplane has a lot of hours and it's been through a lot of crazy hours, but it actually has a very low cycle number, which the research indicates cycles are what actually damage the airplanes. Like those Southwest planes, the 737s that were coming apart in flight, and they were like, this airplane's young, we don't know why it's doing it. Well, Southwest, those airplanes make 3 to 5 hops a day with at full weights and transits and stuff. So there's a reason that they're breaking down. It's usually a cycle count and not not like a life fatigue for what we're doing with the plane.
That's amazing. I wouldn't have thought that, but it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? So let me ask you this: what's your most memorable flight that you've had?
So I have 2 or 3. I'll give you. The first one was my first storm, and it was Hurricane Danny in 2015. And we were flying out of Barbados, and we got in the storm, and it was, at that point in time, it was a Category 1 hurricane. I look back on it, and I think, that wasn't really that big. That storm wasn't that big of a deal, but it was my first one, so I was freaking out, man. And we went into it, and we were at 12,000 feet when we went in, which is a little higher than normal, but we did it because we weren't sure what was going on, and we were like, okay, we'll check it out. Freezing level was up at 15 or 16,000 feet, which is kind of key we want to be below that to avoid icing and lightning and grapple, stuff like that. So we went in at 12, and we hit grapple. And I was like, oh, that's weird and loud and awful, and I don't know what's happening, but I'm flying the but my buddy Scott over here, who was the aircraft commander, but he says I'm doing fine, and we have noise-canceling headsets and Vox. So as the co-pilot, you're usually kind of whispering sweet nothings into the other pilot's ears to tell him that it's okay and that he's doing fine, right? Especially when you've got a new guy. So he's talking to me, keeping me calm and steady, and we go in, and we break out into the eye wall, and he was like, what? And he calls our meteorologist and says, hey, Jack, was that grapple? And Jack was like, oh, yeah, that was grapple. which is really bad for the airplane. Yeah. It's like really wet hail. He's like, okay, what do you want to do? He's like, we need to go down 2,000 feet. And he turns to me and says, Nate, take us down to 10. Well, okay. So I descend to 10,000 feet in the eye of a hurricane. I'm like, meanwhile, Jack is also calling heading changes, or track changes, so that we can hunt the center. Yeah. So I've got the power at idle, I'm dropping it like it's hot, and I'm cranking around between 30-degree angle bank turns. Those turns can be like 45 degrees either side for track changes as he's trying to set it steady out where the wind is. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of challenging. Okay, whatever, no big deal. And we get down to 10,000, everything's fine. We go back out. I did 2 more penetrations of the storm, no big deal. What was memorable is I came back in later, and Scott and I were having a beer after the flight, and he's like, I've never had to do a descent in the eye like that. That was kind of crazy. And I was like, dude, that was my first trip through the storm. I don't know what you're talking about.
You got a gold star. You had like a camp, right?
This is my first one. I don't know what I'm doing. So that one was memorable. The second was a pass through Matthew in 2016. And we came through the storm, and the radar was a mess. Like this huge, nasty red, like if this is my radar scope, a quarter of it was this red, nasty blob, and this was all eye wall. And our track was just a little off. Like we mistimed it a bit, and we got a little too close to that mess. And as we came into the eye wall, we got hammered. We were down 2,000 feet. We were up 1,500 feet. At one point in time, we were in an updraft, and like I was talking about speed bleeding off, that was a situation where I was laying on the elevator in the plane and wouldn't catch. And that happened multiple times in that 2 to 3 minutes of the eye wall penetration. And it was gross. The G spike was only about 2.9, so it wasn't an abort thing, but we came into that eye. And normally when we're, like I talked about CRM, normally we are chatty, like everybody's talking all the time. We broke out, and because once you break out into the eye, it's like the lights come on a little bit, like as it gets bright again. And everybody knows you're through because the plane steadies out and it gets bright. So that moment happened, and it was dead silent on our ICS for about 10 seconds. And the pilots that are up front on Vox, like we could hear each other breathing, but that was it. And then about 10 seconds in, my buddy Chris was with me at that point. He said, "You guys okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right, let's go." And it was just one of those moments where like, okay, we're all still alive, we're all still good, let's get back to work. And we hunted center, and ironically, the other side of the eye wall was open, so we got a little bumpy with some wind shear, because even when a storm's eye wall is not closed with clouds, there is still a wind field there. Okay. So you can go through clear air, but it's still very windy. Yeah. So we cruised out and took care of that one. That was the worst penetration of our season that year. And by the way, you can find a video of that on Facebook. If you go to the Noah Hurricane Hunters Facebook page, I'm pretty sure it's labeled as like Matthew 2016 or something like that. And at the very start of the video, you can see somebody in the left seat, like a green flight glove, flying the plane. That's my hand.
That's your hand. That's your hand model.
Yeah, that's my hand. In a glove. No big deal. And then the third one that I'll tell you, because I don't know what your timeline looks like.
Oh, good. Yeah.
The third one is last year in Michael. I was not flying. I was the co-pilot to another senior aircraft commander, and I had done my rotation, my couple of penetrations. I was done. I hopped out. I was in the back taking a nap because we have a rack in the back of the airplane here for rest purposes, and it's got a seatbelt on it, so you're not going to get thrown around too much. And they were going in for the last pass of the storm, and literally we took a really heavy negative G, or it wasn't negative, but it was probably like a 0.25, enough to get you a little floaty. Yeah. So we're coming down, we're a little floaty, and I'm in the rack, and I was asleep, so I didn't brace myself at all when this started to happen. And I came floating up a little bit toward my head, and my knees floated up a bit, and then when the G loaded back up on the airplane and it came back down, it folded me over my seatbelt, and I cracked my head on the ceiling.
Oh, no.
I actually had to look at the other flight engineer was sleeping down in the other rack, and I looked at him. I was like, "Hey, man, am I bleeding?" And he's like, "No." I was like, "Okay, pretty sure I don't have a concussion, but I'll get checked out when I get home." So those are my top three moments in terms of what the worst storms I've flown into. Lane out in the Central Pacific last year, that was the storm to beat all storms as far as I'm concerned. Because if we had a Cat 7, it would have been a Cat 7. Like we stopped counting at 5, but storms get bigger than that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing! What an amazing mission. I've never been. I knew the Hurricane Hunters is very cool. So you kind of mentioned the Facebook page. obviously, I can imagine if people can go to NOAA, find some information. Or
Yeah,
probably
so
just
there's
Google.
if you Google NOAA, for example, if you were looking for the Commissioned Officer Corps, if you Google NOAA Commissioned Officer Corps, it will get you to a web page for that. If you go to just NOAA's homepage, there's a link system that will eventually filter you down there. The official website doesn't have as much of our media stuff because everybody on the airplane is taking videos with their
Sure.
Seriously, Apple could probably do a Hurricane Hunter like shot on iPhone commercial because 90% of our 90% of our stuff is shot from folks' phones sitting in Windows. But yeah, most of that just gets through our PAO.
Okay.
Our public affairs guy goes right to Facebook, maybe to Twitter. I don't know. I'm not a Twitter guy.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But
Facebook. So it's on social media somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's definitely on social media somewhere. And I know our Facebook page has all of those videos available. So if you go to the NOAA Hurricane Hunters Facebook page, you can find all of that stuff.
Okay. And we always end with one question. As a pilot, if money was no object, if you could fly any airplane in the world, past or present, what would it be?
Can I have a counter question?
Sure.
Are we talking about like one flight just for grins, or do I get to fly this thing a lot?
One flight.
I am a child of the 80s, the F-14D.
Nice. That's going to go over well with the listeners.
Top Gun got me into the Navy. Top Gun kept me in the Navy, even though I flew P-3s.
That's awesome.
And I have been known to quote that movie at least once a day. I know it's not real. I get it, but I love it anyway.
I would expect no less from you guys. Awesome. Thank you so much
You're
for
very
taking the time.
Yep.
Great. Thanks.
Well, welcome to our London studios. Welcome to the A320 Lounge webinar tech presentation, obviously for the 320 series.
Welcome to the A320 and 737 Lounge, bringing technical refresher courses directly to you. Using our cutting-edge broadcasting facilities, enjoy a fully interactive technical refresher course from the comfort of your own home. All of our webinars are live and you can ask your instructor a question at any point during the day. All of our instructors are highly experienced and can help you. No more expensive nights away from home, no new software required, just an internet connection. Courses are run at regular intervals, so check out A320 Lounge and 737lounge.com for more details.
So I'm just reading Richard Adams' comment in the chat room about that interview there. He said, imagine meeting this bloke in a pub, you'd drink it dry without getting bored.
I know, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Absolutely.
Oh, brilliant. That was really good.
It
was really good.
Worth revisiting, actually, and as I say, obviously very appropriate at the moment as well. So, yeah, very good stuff. Very good stuff indeed.
Welcome, actually, to Dr. Steph. Dr. Steph's joined us in the chat room, so hello to you, Steph. Hope you're well.
I say we've got two bits of royalty in the chat room then.
That we have.
Indeed.
Yeah,
okay.
So moving on to the next part of the show, and obviously it's Nev's favourite part of the show each week that he sits riveted to his seat to watch. And this week the military segment is brought to us by Armando. So if you're ready, Matt, hit the button.
Here we go.
Guys, this is going to make Jonathan Warner super happy. This is from the Business Insider website. The U.S. Navy is preparing to receive F-16 fighting Falcons from the Air Force as it moves to rid its inventory of the legacy F-18 Hornet models used in its reserve fleets. That's according to the fiscal year 2022 budget proposal. The Navy will shelve roughly 55 aircraft over the next year, according to the documents, in hopes of transitioning to the F/A-18E Super Hornet. But to make sure it has enough fighters to be available amid the conversion, it expects the Air Force to transfer some F-16s to the Navy. According to them, they say this divestment reduces long-term support costs of older Hornets while retaining adversary capability, the documents state, but do not specify the number of F-16s that are actually needed. Sea Power magazine reported earlier that this month that the F-16s could come from the Air National Guard, which is part of the Air Force. So the Drive reported that F-16s will be used for aggressor training or to act as enemy forces in air-to-air training. The service is moving to reduce its fighter force and focus on the Super Hornet, the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, and the F-18 follow-on aircraft, currently known as the F/A-XX, which defies traditional categorization as a single aircraft platform or technology, potentially using a fighter flying alongside some kind of artificially intelligent enhanced drone or wingman concept. The service is actually weighing whether the FA-XX will be manned, unmanned, partially autonomous, or some other variation of that, according to the Navy. Now, the Navy has actually accepted F-16s before. There's 26 special F-16N model versions, 22 single-seat, four two-seat aircraft that were used between 1988 and 1998 for aggressor training, or, as you've probably seen them in the Top Gun movies. There you go. So the Navy is going to be flying some F-16s in the near future again.
Can we take a moment, please, to appreciate not only the effort that Armando goes to in very kindly, even though he's got the most ridiculous schedule in the entire world at the moment, and sent us lots of little video clips so that we can include him, but also his green screens are amazing, aren't they?
Yeah. I said that to Matt earlier. I said when we were watching him play out from Armando before, I said that looks really good, that green screen. And then there was a little piece of fluff blew along behind Armando, and then an aircraft took off behind him, and it ruined the whole.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
The moving aircraft is what ruined it.
Ruined it. Yeah.
Right.
But
okay.
No, thank you for that, Armando.
Nev, we heard it there here first.
Yeah, no, impressive, and no, he does a nice job there, doesn't he? Definitely. So, and as you say, Armando's so busy with his schedule, how he finds time to do all this, I will never know. But we are eternally grateful because it means I haven't got to read it.
And on that bombshell, moving on to the next one. This next story actually from Armando is comes to us actually from literally 20 minutes up the road from where me and Matt lives here. From the
even though he's not.
Yeah, even though Armando's not. Yeah, this is from our local airport, London Norwich Airport here in from Norwich, and this one it's pardon. From RAF Marham.
It's RAF Marham.
Well, the jet is in question, but the actual event happened over Norwich here.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
But this one comes to us from BBC. So Matt, hit the button.
Guys, from the BBC, a helicopter pilot reported a near-miss event after 4 RAF F-35s flew close by. The AW-139 was flying over Norwich on 24 February when ATC informed the pilot of intense military activity in his vicinity. That's according to an AirProx report. The 4 F-35s are flying in formation as part of a course at the time. The vertical separation between one of the jets and the helicopter was actually recorded down to 600 feet or 183 meters. After being notified of the jet's presence, the helicopter pilot spotted 3 of the 4 jets. According to the report, they said that the AW-139 could not predict the F-35 pilot's intentions, so they elected to maintain course and altitude initially. But then they descended when the conflicting flight paths became apparent to the pilot. The report added that the crew should be commended for their proactive actions to help reduce the risk of a collision. So the first F-35 jet was actually unaware that the helicopter was there and passed over it at a distance of about 1,000 feet or 300 meters, according to that report. The second jet's sensors, probably a TCAS, detected the AW-139 and stopped the descent before informing the third F-35, which enabled the aircraft to increase the separation. It was actually the second jet that passed over the helicopter around 300 or 600 feet. So the report said that the pilot of the second jet should be commended for their quick action in passing the traffic information to the third F-35. Now that AW-139 was under Norwich's air traffic control, while the F-35s were under Marham's air traffic control. The report found that the Marham radar controller's workload at the time was quoted as high, and an opportunity to provide additional support had been missed. All F-35 operators have been mandated to read this AirProx report in the incident as a case study to help improve situational awareness and the importance of lookout, as much as the continued need to follow good airmanship practice. So as a result of this report, the level of supervision to controllers will be increased during busy periods. And this is just one of those things that happens when you put 2 pieces of metal, or in this case it's 5 pieces of metal, in the same airspace at the same time. It can be really, really crowded over there, over the North Sea and the Wash over in East Anglia. And we've talked about that quite a few times on the show. But in this case, everybody came out okay, and nothing but lessons learned for the future.
Absolutely. I mean, we were just actually, we were just sort of saying, I think there's a comment in the chat room, I think, John, if you could pop it up here from Alan White. Imagine how loud that was in the AW139. I mean, a 4-ship F-35 formation passing that close to you. I mean, they're loud enough when you're on the ground, like, you know, I don't know how long away. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, I'm there's lots of things that really surprise me about this story. The question, I suppose, is, I guess it'll all come out in the report, but whose fault is it?
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, we all know, most of the listeners will know, and obviously Nev and all the other team are aware that where me and Matt live here, in the area that we live in, there is a lot of military activity through pretty much all the day, isn't there, Matt, including at nights as well. And because of everything is so compact where we are in East Anglia, there are so many bases. You know, you've got RAF Marham, Lakenheath, Mildenhall and Honington, all within a stone's throw of each other, and literally just off to the east of those is where Norwich, their control zone is at Norwich, and there isn't much. If you ever look at a flight, you know, map or Sky Demon or any sort of app like that which you can use, you can see on there exactly how close all these places are in respect to the ATZs, air traffic control zones that are around each of these particular bases, plus Norwich Airport, and there isn't much room for, you know, for moving about as such. And obviously low-level flying as well. And Norwich, don't forget, as well, is an incredibly busy airport for offshore helicopters.
Yeah, helicopters
all through the day.
Absolutely.
Not so much. There's not a huge amount of commercial airliners going in and out there each day, as we all know.
No.
But no, the offshore rigs, and obviously the East Anglia Air Ambulance as well is based at
They're
Norwich
based
Airport.
there, yeah, absolutely.
Which is also an important one. But yeah, I struggle to see how this could happen, especially with the technology that especially the military aircraft have on board. But,
Miles High has popped a message up there, Carlos.
Yes, very true. They are supposed to communicate with each other.
Maybe read for the audio list.
Yeah, Miles High saying. Sorry, Miles High is saying he's surprised there's not much interaction between the military and the civilian ATC. And I know through my experience that, you know, when you're flying over, especially Wattisham, which is another base not far from where we are here, a bit further down the east coast, which is where the Apaches are based. You know, before you even get anywhere near to Wattisham as a GA pilot, you have to radio ahead and ask for permission to transit the zone. You know, transit through their airspace, and it's the same, as far as I know, with military calling into somewhere like Norwich and asking for permission to move into the control zone there at Norwich, which is not a huge area, but it's worth looking on a navigation chart if you've got one handy, or like I said, Sky Demon as well as another good source to look at these charts on to see where, you know, whereabouts, like I say, where me and Matt live here, that there is a heck of a lot of stuff around here, and again, we've got Peckles up the road with parachutists.
True, yeah, absolutely.
Which are up every single day, which is another very busy airspace as well, not far from where we are here. So,
well, you know, that's the job of the investigators, isn't it? At the end of the day, we'll have answers for this later on. Yes, okay.
So, moving on, and next part of the show, there's obviously the social media. Facebook, for all you guys and girls who follow us on Facebook, will know that we run our Caption This each week. It's a bit of fun, a bit of kind of, you know, a bit of banter between the people in the chat room as well, obviously with the caption and the picture. But this week's picture, which Matt will pop up on the screen in just a moment, is, what can we say? This is, I mean, I'm going to go off here and say it is probably a KLM aircraft, wouldn't you say, Nev?
It is, I think.
Yeah. And for the benefit of the audio listeners, it's in flight,
right?
And the FO and the captain are leaning out of the windows, cleaning
windows, aren't they?
Windows which have been.
Nev's fine, so it's back. Yes,
so they're cleaning the windscreen on this aircraft, and we have had some reasonably very much amusing comments in actually this week. We had some good good feedback. They've been really good. And actually, we'll start with the first one. And I'll take the first one. Here we go. Ivor says, is that chip in the window screen smaller than a pound coin? It is. Right, straight to Tesco's car park for those windscreen repair guys who will do it whilst we wait.
We'll do it in no time at all. Yes, that is a very good point. That is a very good point indeed.
Nev, do you want to take the next one?
Yes, Matt says when the plane above and ahead of you in the corridor flushes the lav and you forgot to top up on Rain-X.
Damn good stuff that Rain-X is.
Yes, good.
I think I used to use that on my scooter, I think.
It's
when
good
I used
stuff.
yeah, absolutely. John is saying that EasyJet pilots get to grips with cleaning the windscreen in flight after they ran out of time on the ground, having already fueled the aircraft on their 10-minute turnaround. EasyJet says, we value all our employees.
Daniel says, I thought we'd outclimb those pesky seagulls. Like that one, Daniel. Nev.
Jordan says, I am not doing another bird strike report tonight, Tim.
Oh, Matt, go on, do this one.
Oh, my God, yes, it's what is it? It's a auto glass repair, auto glass replace.
From Jake. We needed... Yeah, for our global audience, auto glass,
is a windscreen replacement company here.
In the Gareth, our listener Gareth, I know he's in the chat room all the time. Gareth says, John, is that the seagull that stole your Cornish pasty and wedding ring? Very good, Gareth. Well, good.
I like it.
Nev?
Stephen says, when it's your 10th bird strike in the week, and it's go home day.
Quite, absolutely. Yeah, yes, nothing will stop me at all costs. And the last one is in from Neil. Autoglass now provide an aviation service for in-flight windscreen repairs. Indeed, there's a few in the chat room.
Oh, we've got some for the chat room.
Absolutely. Hopefully, John will pop them up on screen for us. So Richard Adams says, you missed a bit. Which is very true. Durkes says, different meaning of bird strike. Richard Adams again scoring the bird strikes. And Mars High, how much is how much is the deductible? Oh dear. Actually, you say that whenever you get, because I've had a bird, like when I would like driving the coaches and stuff, and I had a massive wood pigeon smack right in the middle of my windscreen.
Yeah.
And I was doing like 60 miles an hour on a piece of dual carriageway at the time, and it swallowed on the screen, and I ducked every time. I don't know how that helps me ducking. But Alan White's saying the KLM flight in Norwich was not so lucky as the AW139. That's probably very true. We've got an interesting fact from Dr. Steph here. Safelite has the same commercial jingle, apparently. I mean, there is every chance, Dr. Steph, that my singing of that jingle was horrendous.
Might even got a copyright strike.
It was that perfect.
Yeah,
it was
absolutely,
that perfect.
Yeah. There we go.
But thanks everyone who chipped in on that this week. As always, it'll be back next Wednesday on Facebook. So if you don't already follow us on Facebook, just check us out, Plane Talking UK on Facebook, and give us a like, and keep your eyes on there on Wednesday mornings. So coming up on next week's show, Matt.
Right. Okay, right, yes. So, sorry, no, it's not what's coming up next week, but we've got a very exciting interview lined up with a lovely lady by the name of Julie Reynolds, who is cabin crew for BA. And we're going to be recording that interview hopefully in the coming weeks. And we would love you, please, because our chat room is amazing, but all our listeners are amazing as well. So this is your opportunity to ask the lovely Julie anything you want about her career. And we'd love you to get in touch with us, please, to get that information in. As I say, we're going to be recording that in the coming weeks. And in order to do that, what you can do to get your question in, you can pop it into us by emailing podcast@planetalkinguk.com. That's podcast@planetalkinguk.com. You can also send it in to us via our WhatsApp. That's +44 757 2249166. That's +44 757 2249166. While we're doing it, we might as well run through the socials.
Oh, just quickly, Matt, before you move on.
Oh, go on.
And on another note, we might have as well in a few weeks' time, for all you GA pilots who watch and listen to the show, we are in talks at the minute to have the guys from Sky Demon on the show.
Oh, that'll be
who
interesting.
do
Yeah,
the GA
absolutely.
app, flight planning app. So that'll be good.
Indeed, yeah. I'll just finish off the socials then, if I may. Website, we have a contact form on there. You can pop that. You can get a question in that way as well. www.planetalkinguk.com. And also, don't forget, if you haven't done so already, why not follow us on our socials? That's how you can get something into us for the caption competition. Search Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all for the tag Plane Talking UK, all as one word.
Yes, I shall be doing some shopping on Amazon, I think,
Ooh, good
again
news.
this weekend, yes.
Yes, when don't you?
Some more cat food.
Right, okay. Oh, it's the special.
Using the PTK link,
Of
obviously.
course, that's what I like to hear. Very
Okay,
good, very
very
good. Okay.
Right, so we are going to bring, we can start to wrap up the show, I suppose. Just going to have a quick run round before we do, though. Nev, what's going on in the world of Mr. Bounds next
yes,
week?
well, next week, on Wednesday of next week, I'm appearing on another podcast.
I beg your pardon?
Pardon?
Not aviation related. you'll
Oh,
please
okay,
know,
fine,
but,
that's fair enough. Go on.
Something that I actually know something about. So it's an audio-visual one,
Cool.
and that's coming up on Wednesday lunchtime. So if I can find the link for that, I might just post
Do
that
please. Yes,
for
absolutely.
your fun and enjoyment.
Oh, I look forward to
Yeah,
that, don't
no,
you,
I'm-
Matt?
And heckling.
And I will love that. I will.
Is it a
love that.
live
There's no
one,
two way.
Nev, or is it
It
pre-recorded?
is, yes.
It's a
Is
live?
it?
Oh,
Oh, my goodness
dear.
me.
This could be
Yeah,
dangerous.
Absolutely, yeah.
I look forward to that.
Let's hope their moderators are up to scratch. That sounds like
Yes,
a challenge for you.
we
and
don't
me,
want
Carl.
anybody
Yeah.
getting through, do we?
They'll need a whole garage worth of blue spanners
Yes,
when we get in
absolutely.
there,
Yeah,
Matt.
once we- yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, that'll be fun. Oh, great. Oh, look forward to hearing all about that, Nev.
Yeah, so that'll be good. We're sort of back to work normally next week. It's a full week rather than one with a bank holiday in it,
Oh.
which is a pity because I was quite liking
Yes,
the
absolutely. 4 day week.
4 day week idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with you there. What about you, Carlos? What are you up to next week?
the usual Matt. Drive.
Oh, what, stuck on the A143?
Stuck on the A143.
For hours on end. Yes, okay. Welcome to the East Anglia.
Although
Yeah.
I am very tempted after this week, because the weather's been so nice, apart from today, obviously, but the weather's been so nice in the UK this week, and obviously part of the job that I do is picking up certain items from just across the field from where I learned to fly at Beccles.
Right.
And I am toying on the idea of just slinging the camera in the truck next
Ooh,
week.
okay,
Because
right.
while I'm there, I do have time to take a few pictures, and there's been a lot of activity there this week, actually. So,
Yeah, it's busy old airfield now, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Actually, for any of our GA listeners who may have flown into Beccles in the last couple of years, if you try flying into Beccles now,
You won't recognise
you
it.
will not recognise the airfield
Absolutely.
because they have a fully tarmacked runway
Yeah.
and updated taxiways and a restaurant and new radio
exciting.
room.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Can't wait. Yeah, come
Yeah,
visit.
come visit,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Come visit, definitely. That's the future.
Matt, what are you doing next week? Apart from hosting a certain breakfast radio show all next week, Matt, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's it really. I'm going to be getting up at 4:30 every day
Oh,
for the next 5 days to host the.
That's not that early in the morning, is
Of
it?
course it is. No, see, unlike when you did it on Sunday, Carlos, where you can just submit one list and rock up, and then magically everything's appeared in the playout system. Somebody has to basically you've got to put all the music in. There's no automated way of doing that, so you've got to pop all the music in.
So what time is that then? Next
So
week?
it's 6 till 9.
6 till 9.
6 till 9,
Okay.
Monday to Friday on Park Radio.
I shall be listening.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, absolutely. The lovely Chris Moyes is on holiday this week, and for some very bizarre reason, he's left me in charge of his baby. I don't
blimey.
really know why, but there we go. We'll have a go. That's all we can do, isn't it? We'll have a go.
I look forward. Are you on this Sunday as well?
I am on this Sunday.
Oh,
as well. Yeah,
Sunday.
absolutely. That's in the afternoon though, so I can sleep
Yeah.
before then.
If
Yeah.
you haven't, I know it's just absolutely hideously shameless plug for Matt, but if you haven't already listened to Matt, check out his Sunday afternoon show on Park Radio over on Alexa or whatever device you use.
My
to listen
interview
to.
this week is with the lovely Johnny Crickmore from Fen Farm Dairy.
Oh,
which
where
is
they do the raw milk.
Where they do the raw milk up the road. here.
Brian
So-
Coleman sampled that
Yeah,
raw milk.
He did, yeah, the shed,
Yeah.
from the shed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we talk about the shed
Yeah.
and all that kind of thing. So there we go. Anyway, enough shameless plugging.
Enough shameless plugging.
Time to go.
That's it then. That's where we are going to bring episode number 370 to a close. Massive thanks to everyone in the YouTube chat room for joining us this evening and taking time out your Friday. We really do appreciate you all joining us each week. And and a big thanks as well to John for all his pre-show production work behind the scenes this week as well. As always, legendary work, awesome, well done.
And for putting up for me for being grumpy earlier in the show.
Yes. And also big thanks as well, not forgetting all the massive amount of work that Armando's done this week, bringing us those recorded segments. So thank you, Armando, because I know you'll listen back to the show. I expect to make sure we've done you a good job.
Make sure we played them, I think.
I know. Big thanks to Nev as well for being on the show again this week. Lovely to see you, Nev, as always.
Pleasure.
And Matt, it's been nice to be back in the studio again a second time.
2 weeks in
I
a
know,
row,
it's
isn't
2
it?
weeks in a row.
I'm getting used to it now. Getting used to being like around other humans now.
I know, I know.
Yeah, exciting time.
So from me and Matt here in the my hands disappeared. Like from me and Matt here in the PTUK Master Suite studio, from Nev in his glorious mansion over in Buckinghamshire, and from John, our producer, wherever in the world he is. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend, and see you next Friday. Bye bye.